This is Everyday Discipleship, a podcast whose mission is to equip Christians to live for the glory of Christ from a biblical worldview. My name is Chad Lee. With me is Cole Chenal, and we are two pastors at Reformation Baptist Church in Northwest Arkansas. And today we're going to be discussing the left's playbook to destroy Western civilization.
How do you destroy a whole culture? Yes.
And we're seeing it all around us. So, I mean, there's so many things that we have to talk about here, or we get to talk about.
Well, we were even just prepping for it, and like how this is such far-reaching stuff. Like it gets into all kinds of things that talking about worldview, talking about kind of theology of government and why God made a government. You're talking about what is an American, or like what makes a citizen versus like what makes a American different from a British person, vice versa, that kind of stuff. And it's so funny because this is also like one where, you know, you're just going to, by nature of it, and I'm fine with it, but you're just going to have to say a lot of stuff you're not supposed to say. Mm-hmm. Like, how dare you notice? Yes. Yeah. How dare you notice these things?
Yeah.
Because I think that really what kind of started it up for me was, I don't know, I wouldn't call it like an epiphany. That sounds too high. But it was like kind of like a really aha moment for me as like, why is the left, right? Because we got stuff, I mean, that's a whole nother episode for a whole nother day. Like the Supreme Court ruling on birthright citizenship, mm-hmm. and whether or not if you come here 9 months pregnant and you have a baby, that baby's automatically an American citizen. It's like, what is an American in the first place? And I already have questions about the legitimacy of the Supreme Court period.
Yes, yeah.
But it kind of like got me thinking, like, why is immigration such a fight? Like, why? Because if you really think about it, and you know, and Trump, he kind of gave up on it, to my dismay. He kind of gave up, and well, I guess we'll go bomb Iran now.
Yeah, I've had to bring you back a little bit. I've had to bring you back.
No, I'm not back. I'm still. I'm still in the deep,
all the way with the black pilling.
But like, why? My question was, why do they do this? Like, why is it so important? Because it seems insane.
And
like,
how have they been so good at it?
Well, and remember how Trump at the State of the Union, people so like we live in such a cruddy culture that just forgets immediately, that is not engaged. I mean, I was listening to something the other day that had the best exclamation, because so many Christians are like, I don't want to be involved in politics. Politics is dirty. Politics is icky. And I was listening to a Christian guy, and he said, actually, like, being involved in politics and being aware of what's going on is actually stewardship of your citizenship that God's placed you in. Like, wherever you are, if you have any kind of level of citizenship, you're a steward of that citizenship. And so the question for the Christian is, are you stewarding it well? Or are you stewarding it not well?
Yeah. I mean, the politics being legislative morality, you absolutely should care about the laws that you are under.
Yeah. And like, people will say, like, you can't legislate morality. That's exactly what laws are. Can you murder someone? No. Well, that's legislating morality.
Yeah.
And Christians that say, well, I don't want to be involved in politics, or not be engaged, or not think about it. I'm not saying like be consumed with it, because it is just political theater and it's all a hack. I mean, everyone's paid off by the thinking lobbyists anyway. It doesn't really, there is no representative government anymore. They don't represent people. But like, I think most Christians that are not engaged culturally with what's going on, they're like the servant that buries the talent. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. And they're not being good stewards of what God's given them to do, because we as Christians have a responsibility to be salt and light. And being salt and light isn't just, which are not negative things, but isn't just passing out tracts and going to church on Sunday. Being salt and light is going to church on Sunday to be equipped for the work of ministry,
yeah, to
then go out and to be a light and a witness for the gospel.
Yeah, well, you've been doing this sermon series on God's sovereignty and how God provides means by which. And so you look at Romans 13 and Paul writing that, you know, the servant, the elected leaders are servants of God. They're his deacons. What would Paul say when we, the people, actually have the ability to elect those servants, right? The means by which we bring these leaders to then say, oh, I don't really care.
Yeah, well, it's totally disengaged.
That's why we have what we have now.
Well, I was listening to something else today too that like had a great point. He said, you know, why are politics so dark and so evil and so wicked? It's because all the Christian light has left.
Yeah,
Christians aren't engaged. I mean, there's stats like where every election in the modern era, for like at least the last 20 years, 20% of voters have been evangelical Christians, and evangelical Christians like are a huge voting block. That if you actually started applying the Bible to the way you look at the world and applying a biblical worldview, you could literally swing a whole nation, right? I mean, you're a huge chunk. Because like we hear all the time so much like politically about the black vote or the minority vote. That's 13% of the electorate. You're talking evangelical Christians are 20.
Yeah.
I mean, that's yet all the attention gets plays to where? because that's where they think the power lies, instead of them saying, what do you want? Like, what do we do to represent you? So like, at the end of the day, I was looking at it and thinking, okay, why is immigration such a divisive issue, such a hard issue, such a, we talked about James Tallarico in a podcast where the left will try to weaponize our Christian faith to say, why aren't you for just basically open borders and complete globalization and replacement of your whole culture? Why aren't you for that as a Christian? Because Jesus says, love the sojourner and the Good Samaritan story. Why is that such a tactic of, obviously, Satan, right? I mean, I've been reading Revelation in my own like personal worship, and Satan's obviously behind Rome. So Rome is the manifestation of what Satan's wanting to do. So like, why is Satan, and therefore, the lefts, why is their tactic, why are they so ardent about immigration? And why is that such a thing? And it kind of clicked on me where that's how you destroy a whole culture. If you can replace a culture that has a Christian heritage, you can literally just pave the way for whatever you want. Because the way I kind of look at it, and the way I think about it is this: is that like the left is godless. They want godlessness, right? Transgenderism, mutilating kids, homosexuality, abortion by mail, which again the Supreme Court just reinstated. I mean, it got basically banned by a federal court. The Supreme Court was like, no, we'll reinstate it until we figure this out. So you can still like have an abortion bill at your own mailbox, which is one of the reasons I think the Supreme Court's illegitimate. You can't be legitimate and basically, really the whole government, because you can't be legitimate and say, well, you can murder another human being. Yeah. That's not a legitimate government. Yeah. That's a beast if you ever seen one. But they like, if you can replace a whole population that does not have a Christian worldview because they want godlessness, well, that gets them everything else they want, basically. So if you can get the immigration thing figured out on your side, where you can replace a culture that has Christian heritage, has Christian values, then you can get lone bulwark against godlessness in American civilization. Mm-hmm. There's people arguing about it and like, that's racist and all that stuff. It's like, take it for what it's worth. The fact of the matter is, Christians are the last bulwark. Like evangelical Christians are the last bulwark of all kinds, right? Those that believe the gospel, we're the last bulwark for the culture, not just going completely to hell in a handbasket with it. And that obviously like raises up like a challenging, because you say stuff like this and you talk about replacement, stuff you're not supposed to notice. I mean, you and I, we talk about it all the time. Like, I'm starting to notice it here in our area. Yeah, we're seeing a lot more just like what is happening? Like, why is our government doing this? And at the end of the day, what's going to get pushed back on you is, which I despise it anyway, and I don't even grant the premise, but what do they always say, right? Well, how can you be against this? We're a nation of immigrants. Yeah. We're a nation of immigrants. But we're not a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of settlers and conquerors. Like, we settled an unfound land. Like, when the Pilgrims came to America, there was no America.
It wasn't America.
There was the Americas, like there was continents, but there was no country called America. And so we are not immigrants. We're settlers. We're conquerors that came and conquered this land, tamed this land, and had dominion like God called us to, under God. Like, I mean, I know you talk about the Pilgrims all the time. Yeah. Where they obviously acknowledge God as the Lord.
Yeah, the Mayflower Compact, right before they came on board, right? Came on the land, said this is going to be a nation under God. I think the language there of conquering, right? We Christians have never had to think in these categories, right? We've prosperity, peace. And now that it's at the doorstep, we're having to learn quickly, like, wait a second, we actually have to apply biblical principles here. And the word conquering actually really fits. That's what's happening, right? When you have a people that come and they're welcome in and they don't assimilate, they bring their own cultures, right? They get elevated over our American culture. You get erased.
Well, and that's like kind of like, well, how's this fit in with like destroying Western civilization and stuff like that? That gets fit in because like when people say you're talking about like these other cultures coming in and conquering. Well, what's the difference between these other cultures now that are immigrating versus Ellis Island, right? Like everyone looks at Ellis Island, and that's a part of American culture, part of American history, where immigrants from Italy, immigrants from Ireland were coming over. What's the difference between that? Because those, and I grant like those generations helped build our country. They assimilated into our country. They became part of the greatest generation, like helped fight World War II, right? All that stuff. And they'll push back on us, say, what's the difference? And that's where, to me, like the difference is those kind of cultures shared with us 1,000 plus years, 2,000 plus years of Christian heritage. Of like Western civilization is built on Christianity.
Yeah.
People can say whatever they want. Is 100% built on Christianity. The British common law was built on Christian principles.
The Mosaic Law.
The Mosaic Law. 2 or 3 witnesses, innocent until proven guilty. All that stuff that the left just takes for granted all comes from our biblical worldview.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't exist in communist China. Right? It does that. You are innocent until proven guilty. The government just does whatever they want.
Yeah.
But we have those principles because we believe that we are created by God, and our founders believed that we were created by God, right, and had rights endowed by our Creator.
That's why we get life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because the foundation was a biblical view of life.
Well, that's a whole other thing too, because pursuit of happiness, the way happiness gets defined, I know you know this too, is that we define happiness as whatever makes me happy. Mm-hmm. And so now anything that does not fully affirm me or fully support me is limiting my freedom. That's how freedom gets used and talked about today. But that's not actually what happiness is. Happiness is virtue, a virtuous life, a godly life, a peaceful life. Like when you think about it, a happy life, it's not me, quote unquote, being happy. It's a happy life is in a peaceful, quiet, dignified life.
Yeah.
Exactly what Paul talks about. The whole purpose of government is that we should be praying for a quiet and godly life, dignified in every way, right? But those other cultures, they shared a common worldview with us. And that's kind of the key, because a nation is a people. It's a people that have a common heritage, a common culture, a common way of seeing the world. And that when you import basically third world immigrants and that don't share our worldview, don't share anything about our way of thinking, that's how you get kind of the tensions and the disruption we're seeing today. Because there is no assimilation possible, because it's literally a different concept of how you even see the world in the first place.
Yeah. Well, before you go into that, because I think it's a great place to go, I think to your point earlier, why Christians struggle to see it is because if you look around us in the modern seeker-sensitive emergent church movement, and you'll see the signs around here in Northwest Arkansas even, that say all are welcome. Well, the church is for who? Church is for Christians.
Yeah.
God's people. Everybody's welcome to come in here, but you're going to hear the gospel, and you've got to repent and believe that gospel to be a part of that church. So churches have just said, well, we're going to welcome everybody, right? Which then means everything gets, you don't have those biblical convictions because you can't, because you've got all these people that don't actually believe what the culture that you're trying to build. Then the culture changes, right? The culture naturally changes. So I think the Christians are acting functionally, like with immigration, the way they act in their churches, right?
Yep.
It's just for everybody.
That's actually a really interesting point, because you're basically saying like how we're doing church is translating out there in the world and out there in society.
Yeah. Well, because you can't stand for anything, because you're going to lose people. People are going to get angry with you. You've got to try to take care of everybody, and you can't.
Yeah.
That's not the way that God designed the world. You have to have specific people, specific cultures. That's how you get unity. That's how you get love. That's how you care for one another, because you have the same principles and the same values in life, right? So
that's a key of it, values. Like, what do you value? Because culture flows down from worship, flows down from what you value, right?
Yeah.
So when you worship bad stuff, when you worship idols and false gods, you're going to get bad culture, because it's all flowing from what's the highest value, what's the highest good, the highest priority. For Christians, what's our highest good and highest priority? Love God, love neighbor. So when you have a Christian culture, what does that look like? A virtuous life, and then B, a charitable life, one that looks different than other societies in the world that are just selfish, all about me. And people will go like, well, this is just like right-wing conspiracy stuff, because you're not supposed to notice replacement, even though they blatantly talk about it. They blatantly say it. And they'll, like, the left will talk about it. Hillary Clinton's, like I've read it before, she says that white Christians are some of the greatest threats to our country. Obama said that recently. We just saw that it's insane. We live in a crazy life. But the Biden DOJ, they literally were discriminating against Christians and had it out for Christians. I mean, because why? Because it affects their plans. They want godlessness, and we're standing in the way. And people go, that's a right-wing conspiracy. Because you're not supposed to notice replacement. And that wouldn't really happen. That diversity is our strength. It's like, look at England. There's your microcosm test case, right? A little island. It is.
Will be Muslim.
A hellhole.
In my lifetime, it'll be Muslim.
It's crazy. Like, they have lost their country. I mean, I made a joke with like our community group last night that I saw a video where some dude's getting arrested for posting something online because their speech laws are going out the wazoo. Some dude getting arrested by a sheik with a turban on his head and some woman. Yeah. Cop coming to his door said, you posted wrong thing online, so now we're going to arrest you. There was a woman over there that got arrested for praying silently outside of an abortion mill. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You cannot share a culture with this. You cannot share a country with this. And I don't think most people understand that being an American, because that's the context we're in. I mean, it would be the same thing if you say being British means something. And you start to see some of them start to push for that. Or being French means something.
I haven't seen a Muslim over there getting arrested, though, for saying any of the things they say about white Christian men.
No.
It's not equal weights and measures, right?
No.
We know this. This is the play to destroy.
It's conquering.
Yeah, it is conquering. That's what is happening. So I guess, let me ask you this. Do Christians who are getting their eyes open to this, I mean, what's the response? Like, how do you teach someone to hate what is evil?
Completely black pill and just give up. That's completely just give up. Yeah. It's all over. Yeah. There's no fixing this. I don't know.
Because people are trying to, Christians are trying to live a peaceable life, but it's like, well, now what do you do whenever?
I think one of the first things is you got to get a tough skin. I mean, when I think about it, because someone could listen with ill intentions on something like this and say, dude, they're so racist. Like, that's like, I think that, well, that's the thing, because you have tougher skin. And I think for millennials, that's getting less and less. I mean, like, especially if you're a millennial like my age, like 40s or younger, and you grew up in public school, I spent my whole life getting called racist, and I'm not racist. So that doesn't really work on me anymore. And I think that's happening more and more with younger generations. But you got to get a tough skin that you can't be put on your back foot, because it's like if you start talking about the great replacement of replacing American culture, I saw a deal the Babylon Bee posted where it was since like I can't remember, it was like 2021 or something like that 9 out of 10 jobs are given to foreigners in America. That's replacement. I'm sorry, like, call it what you want. That's not racist. That's saying that I want a country. I want my fellow countrymen to. It's not racist because it's not based on skin color or ethnicity. It's based off of, I want people with my values, my heritage, that share my culture. I want them to have priority in our country. What a novel idea, that the government should actually serve its people and not everybody in the whole world.
Yeah, I mean, a novel idea that you don't get to just come to America from another country and take jobs.
Well, that's the thing too, is that, like, the idea of birthright citizenship, America has to be more than an idea. Like, America has to be more than an economic zone. I mean, like, Vivek Ramaswamy, he just won the Ohio primary, and he's an Indian Hindu, and he
made some blasphemous.
Well, his idea of America is, well, I work really hard, and if you want to work really hard and you want to be successful, if you want to work hard and make money, that's what America is. America is more than wanting to work hard and make money. I'm sorry, it just is. And then, like, some Christian out in the crowd like said, hey, like, what about Jesus? And Viveka is like, well, we have a different understanding of Jesus, but he still fits in our faith tradition, that he's not the Son of God, he's a Son of God. All this stuff. It's like, you don't have a clue what we are as Americans. Like, we have the 10 Commandments based on our laws. We have "In God We Trust," right? The Declaration of Independence, a long-standing culture, Christian culture,
at the end of which is to the supreme ruler of the world.
Yeah,
who are they talking about?
Yeah, it's not some Hindu god of one god among many.
Not no monkey god.
But, like, I think that's the thing. Like, an American is more than an idea. An America is more than a patch of dirt. Like, and that's true for any country. Like, being a British person is more than a patch of dirt. It's more than that island over there. And as long as you're on that island, you're British. That's not true. There's this idea of values and heritage and culture. And our culture comes from Western tradition. That's true for every Western country. That Western tradition, and, like, Trump, I guess we hosted the King of England, and Trump talked about, we have a shared Christian heritage because we come from England. Like, that there would not be an America without an England, which is true. Why? Like, why does Romeo and Juliet matter to us as Americans? And I don't think it matters, like, as in people think about it, but, like, we all know it. It's familiar to us because it comes from our shared culture, shared tradition. Mm-hmm. And I think, so, like, when you say Christians, what do they need to do? They need to get off their back foot and not be afraid of being called racist, not be afraid of being called names.
They actually need to not fear being reviled.
Yeah,
for what they actually believe and what the Americans before them believed.
Because what we're advocating for, so, like, just to put it, well, how's this? What we're advocating for, what I'm advocating for here is, a government is instituted by God. A government is a good. It is not a necessary evil. It is a good that God has instituted in the world, right? There's self-government, family government, the church government, and civil government. The civil magistrate is instituted by God for the purpose of serving their citizens. It's a covenantal commitment of the government serving the citizens, the interest of its people, and the good of its people. And if a government is not serving the good of its people, then is no longer serving the role God's given it to serve. Mm-hmm. So when you have our government that does not serve the will and the needs and the goods of its citizens, but rather non-citizens, and trying to replace those citizens, and having all of our money, all of our tax dollars getting stolen from us at an unbiblical rate and being sent out of our borders to not fix anything, that's wrong. And that's what we're trying to say. And like how you destroy the West, because that's where you're getting back to. How you destroy the West is you get rid of the Christian heritage. You get rid of the Christian ideal. Because if there is a God over the state, then the state cannot be God, and the state cannot say whatever it wants is good and evil. And so what the first step is, you got to get a tougher skin. I think the second thing is it's a biblical worldview. I mean, Christians, so we advocate for all the time on this show, like is you need to filter everything through the lens of the Bible. The Bible is not just there for how does church work on Sundays and maybe how does my inner thought life work in my own self. The Bible is there and applies to every aspect of the world, every aspect of life, every aspect of culture. And Christians need to unapologetically press the Bible on every issue. Like, what does the Bible say? What does God say? Because God says best.
Well, you would agree it's tough when you say that because we've been taught, collectively macro level evangelicals, that the Bible is really just for your quiet time and most of it is for your Sunday service.
Yeah. And separation of church and state
separation of
is
church
the whole
and
thing.
State.
And so what am I advocating? I'm not advocating for non-separation of church and state. Separation of church and state is the idea that the state and the church both have their own separate governments. And they need to not be involved in each other. It means that the state can't arbitrarily place pastors or prescribe the ordinances, right? Administer the ordinances.
Or tell us what to preach.
But the church can absolutely prophetically speak to the state. The state is given by God to punish evil, honor good, and that honoring good looks like building a society in such a way that they can live a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way.
Yeah, the state is submissive to Christ.
Yeah, separation of church and state does not mean separation of God and state. I'll say that till cows come home. That just because you say Jesus is king does not mean that you're now persecuting people for not having the right view of baptism. Yeah. That's just ridiculous. That's just foolishness.
It shouldn't be controversial to say that the founding documents, the Declaration, the Constitution, were all Christian documents in the sense that they were made from a Christian biblical worldview and that view of man.
Yeah.
The rights that a man has is because of the view of the Bible.
Well, and there's Supreme Court rulings that there's, I think one's called the Holy Trinity versus the United States, that was a Supreme Court case where basically this church hired a guy from England to be their minister and pastor, and there was laws that say you can't do that, and so the church sued and stuff like that. And basically the guy that wrote it, he says, like, we're a Christian nation. Like the judge writing the opinion said, we're a Christian nation.
Yeah.
And he goes through the history of how we're a Christian nation all the way from Columbus to their day.
We miss the easy stuff. When a politician takes the oath of office for all these many years, where are they putting their hand?
On the Bible. They should be putting their hand on the Bible. We've had some recent ones that have been rough.
But saying, so help me God. It's in submission to God.
When you're like giving testimony at court, so help me God. It's the idea that there's a higher power over this. It's not just a spit of land. It's a whole heritage that we've received and inherited that we are to preserve. It's good. That's the thing. We're Christians. Like, it's good to preserve our culture. This whole diversity is our strength thing. Listen, I'm all for every tribe, tongue, and nation. But you know what? It's still every tribe, tongue, and nation. It's not one like amalgamous blob.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you get to come to my nation. So let me get back on. We'll circle back to the laser focus here on immigration. What happens? Maybe a rhetorical question, but what happens when millions upon millions of individuals come into your nation that do not believe those foundational principles that you just laid out?
I don't know how you have. Okay, I'll tell you what it means. You have a biblical example for it. It's the Roman Empire in Daniel 2, the statue made of iron and clay, and it's very brittle. That's exactly what it is. It's very brittle because there's not, like Rome, when they were growing as an empire, and there's so many, it's so crazy. I've been listening to some real weird stuff where like the similarities between Rome and America and like the downfall of the empire, and like we're right there. It's just a matter of time that Rome fell way before it actually fell. Like it was already broken way before, and the stuff that kind of broke it was political corruption, ding, immorality, ding.
We got those. Like, we would make the Romans blush with some stuff we do.
Economic crises, ding. Like we got all those things, you know. But in Daniel, it talks about that kingdom will be brittle. It's very strong, but it's also very brittle because it's made of iron and clay, mixed with clay. Meaning like Roman Empire, the Roman government ruling over all things, but every nation they conquered is like, hey, come in, worship whatever gods you want. It doesn't really matter. Just don't mess with our gods and don't mess with anybody else, and keep the Roman peace and you'll be fine. And so that created a bunch of disparate groups within. And so you can't have a nation like that. You can't share, like we even see it even with fellow Americans, right? Take immigration out of it. I mean, this is a great example. This is how you prove it's not racist either. Take immigration out of it. With fellow Americans that are on the other side of the political aisle. And listen, I'll be the first to say I hate the Republicans maybe more. Like the Democrats are evil and the Republicans are stupid and evil, right? Yeah. They are just, but for sake of argument, you cannot share a country if you do not share a worldview. Right now, all of our political angst is because you have two different sides saying there's a different vision for the future, a different direction we want to go, and what that looks like. And it's pulling apart at the seams. Why? Because we don't share a worldview. We don't, it's not this, we have like minute differences on certain non-consequential things. It's huge differences on what's a man, what's a woman.
Yeah, socialism
what's
and
marriage.
Communism are pretty consequential.
Yeah, socialism, communism versus capitalism. Like all these things, there's huge worldview differences, and you can't share a country with that. And you're starting to see political violence ramp up more and more. I mean, Trump had another assassination attempt go on him. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. And so I think like the idea is without a shared worldview, it doesn't mean every single point, but without a shared general direction or vision, you can't go anywhere. Everyone's pulling a different direction. And so if you have basically unfettered immigration where you can't assimilate all these people, well, now you get a country that is being pulled apart because it's literally being pulled in different directions and no one knows where to go.
Yeah. Well, now what do you assimilate them to? Because the left.
Yeah. What is America?
Yeah. Because the left is. Because I don't want to share a country with immoral people that kill babies and promote homosexuality, and this is why this rift, right? This great separation, and now you're bringing in more people. How do they assimilate?
Well, that's the thing, because like to the right, American culture is the Sandlot. To the left, American culture
July
is
4th baseball.
American culture. To the left, American culture is drag queen story hour. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the difference. Like it's they're not even compatible. They're not even the same thing.
No.
And so, I think the idea of basically getting at Christians. Like, hey, why do this? Like, why do this episode? Like, what's the call to action on it? I think it's being doggedly committed to a biblical worldview and building a biblical worldview. Wrestling with the hard questions of how do I apply the Bible to this? What does the Bible say about this? And dealing with the hard questions of, okay, what does it mean to love the sojourner and the stranger among you, right? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And for Israel, it looked like they still had borders. They still had walls. It looked like you weren't just outright oppressing people that were different from you, and those people but those people were not part of Israel. There's obviously a direct line that they were not part of Israel. They weren't participating in the temple and stuff like that. They could be God-fearers and God-worshippers, but the idea is you got to wrestle with all this stuff biblically and apply the Bible to every aspect of life. What does the Bible say about marriage? What does the Bible say about the function of government and the purpose of government? Because you're getting government that is only getting more and more bloated, that isn't serving the work of its citizens. Because if every American knew that the purpose of government was to serve its citizens, that changes a lot of stuff overnight. Because I think people think the government just exists to be in power and to keep the world, like do wars and run the economy and make the world not fall into chaos, I guess. But that our elected officials have forgotten the fact that they exist to serve the people and not themselves. They'll give lip service to the people, but they don't serve the people.
Yeah.
And so applying a biblical worldview to everything. And I think first too, yeah, you had a great point. I think it starts with the church, and I think it starts with ourselves. That you can't have limited government, which is what we would want. You can't have limited government without self-government.
Yeah. Well, and judgment does start with the household of God.
Yeah.
Right? We've got to pull the plank out of our eye and get things right within our family, our marriages, our children, be raising our children, actually educating them in the instruction and discipline of the Lord, in the church, being a faithful, biblically sound, with biblical convictions and worshiping Christ faithfully, and then going out into the world, right, and speaking prophetically in whatever sphere the Lord has us. So you have anything else you want to add on that?
I think that's good.
Yeah, good. All right, well, we hope that this discussion on Western civilization and the left's tactics to destroy it has been a blessing to you. And until next time, this is Everyday Discipleship.